Where am I? What happened? Why am I lying on the ground gnawing on the smelly dirt? Wang Ziming opened his eyes and immediately felt the bitterness in his mouth. A nauseating feeling was processed by his brain and immediately responded to his stomach. Vomit master, are you all right? What's wrong with you? The doctor's treatment in Reese City is very expensive. The lower and lower voice caused a series of laughter around. You dare to molest Miss Ben just like a bear, no wonder the Wang family is so down and out. Hee. The crisp and Oreo-like sound came into Wang Ziming's ears, and it felt a little soft and waxy. Wang Ziming had heard this kind of sound on the live broadcast platform. But soon Wang Ziming was interrupted by a stern voice. Miss, did I chop him off with a knife? Chopped? After Wang Ziming heard this sentence, his aching body burst out with infinite vitality from nowhere. A carp jumped up from the ground. How embarrassing the action must be. If it weren't for the fact that this body seemed to have just been rubbed on the ground by someone, and it was about to fall apart, Wang Ziming would definitely sprint out at the fastest speed in his life. The unfamiliar environment and the terrifying dialogue have made Wang Ziming, who has been bombarded by internet articles and various time travel dramas, clearly realize that he has made a big deal. He is a poor boy who works at the bottom. He wants a house, a car, or a car. He is still in the single stage of admiring the classic culture of a certain island country. With his knees, he can think that such a huge prank arrangement cannot fall on him. As for the bright and white-toothed young man next to him who was still struggling with the question of how much the doctor asked for, he was directly ignored by Wang Ziming. If you are really his young master, you are still obsessed with medical expenses at this time? Wang Ziming, whose mind was sober, but his body couldn't keep up with the rhythm, just wanted to try to see if he could break through the human limit and escape from the dangerous ground. At some point, a long knife with a deep blood groove had been placed on his neck. As if the pause button had been pressed, Wang Ziming maintained a flamboyant running posture with both hands, and one leg was slightly suspended in the air, not knowing whether it should fall. Tick-tock, a drop of cold sweat slid onto the blood tank of the long knife, making a crisp sound of water falling. If this sound is matched with the pictures of nature, it can definitely be synthesized into an environmental protection promotional video that feels the natural atmosphere. All Wang Ziming's attention was focused on the blade. He didn't even dare to turn around, his mind seemed to be frozen. In fact, Wang Ziming felt that he didn't have his legs slumped on the ground now, he was already man. With more than 20 years of life experience combined, it is not as exciting as these few seconds. Under Wang Ziming's thumping heartbeat, the soft and glutinous voice that made Wang Ziming fall into a beautiful fantasy came again. If you dare to speak unkindly to Miss Ben, it should be executed. Hong Kai will do it, Miss Ben will take care of everything. No, although the young master is a concubine of the Wang family, he is also of noble blood. The young man, who was always by Wang Ziming's side, but kept his mouth and hands, cried like the sky was falling, but unfortunately, none of the people present took him seriously. Hong Kai, stop! The owner of the long knife licked his dry lips bloodthirsty, but just as he was about to start, he was stopped in time by another voice. Hong Kai glanced at the middle-aged man who spoke out, and looked at Yuan Qinghan suspiciously. Although he is Yuan Qinghan's bodyguard, the middle-aged man who speaks out has a much higher status in the Yuan family. He is the steward of the Yuan family in Lis City. Dong Fukan noticed the dissatisfied eyes of Hong Kai and Yuan Qinghan, and bowed to Yuan Qinghan and explained, although Wang Ziming is only a concubine of the poor Wang family, he is of noble blood after all. Killing the noble bloodline will greatly damage the reputation of our Yuan family. Yuan Qinghan Xiaomei frowned slightly, and said coldly, is it possible that you can let this disciple go like this? I have never been molested on the street by a man so much. Dong Fukan smiled slightly, and whispered a few words in Yuan Qinghan's ear in a voice that Wang Ziming could not hear. Soon, a bright smile appeared on Yuan Qinghan's face again, showing the beauty of bringing disaster to the country and the people. Hong Kai, who was on the side, quickly turned his head away when he saw it, and stared at the motionless Wang Ziming. Until then, Wang Ziming had his back to Yuan Qinghan and his group, and he couldn't even see the appearance of the person who wanted to kill him. Hong Kaiu, put down the knife. Naturally, Hong Kaiu didn't hear Dong Fukin's whispers, but a guard of his level was not qualified to say much. Since his master ordered it, he did as he did. After the knife was withdrawn, Wang Ziming did not fall to the ground immediately, relying on the earth wall next to him to support his body. No way, Wang Ziming's legs are still shaking. He felt that he was wronged. He just stayed up all night at home to review a handful of his past memories: Age of Empires, Total War, and the series of Mount and Blade series games, and then closed his eyes and walked to this terrible place. The only good news is that his body is also called Wang Ziming. Maybe this is his unfortunate fate. Wang Ziming, who was leaning against the wall, subconsciously turned around and swept over, at least to see what his enemy looked like. Then, he was shocked. Such a beautiful and moving girl, why is her heart so vicious? Clear and bright pupils, curved eyebrows, long eyelashes trembling slightly, her fair and flawless skin reveals a touch of pink, and her thin lips are as delicate as rose petals. She has high breasts, willows, waist, and peach buttocks, and her waist-length hair is casually draped over her shoulders. A dress on her body shows off her body just right. In modern society, her appearance can be compared with the top without makeup and beauty in various P pictures. Female stars are on par. However, with such a beautiful skin, why do you want to kill yourself with your mouth shut? By the way, the other party seems to have been calling him a disciple? What kind of legacy has my ex-body left me? Before Wang Ziming struggled for long, he was even more shocked. I saw a corpse lying in the corner next to the street, and the blood on the ground had become viscous and started to solidify. It's no wonder that there are only 5 people in the whole street and myself, and there is not even a melon eater. The other party really dared to kill people in the street. After realizing this, Wang Ziming's legs, which had just returned to normal, began to not obey him again. Young master, don't worry, Yuan Qinghan has already said not to kill you, we are safe. The young man with a low sense of presence said to Wang Ziming with a tearful smile on his face. Well, just as I am now, the title of young master is really ironic. At this moment, Wang Ziming suddenly felt a light buzzing in his head, and a mechanical sound resounded strangely in his ear. Detected that there is a remnant wandering nearby, and began to capture. After capturing, refine to get 1 point of soul power, activate the different space territory, activate the auxiliary interface, and start to integrate with the basic rules of the world. After a series of prompts, Wang Ziming swept his eyes to other people vigilantly, and found that whether it was the 1 woman and 2 men who wanted to kill him or the bird useless, but the young man who was his own did not hear the strange mechanical sound like himself. Let out a long sigh of relief. At the same time, after confirming that I have obtained the golden finger plugin, my legs are no longer weak, my waist is no longer bent, and the pain in my body is also relieved. It's okay to spare you a dog's life, but this matter can't be left alone. Yuan Qinghan said with a cold expression, the eldest young lady's aura is clearly displayed. Hong Kaiu on the side is like a butcher, the bloodthirsty in his eyes is undisguised. Master, the only tier 3 guard assigned to us at home was hacked to death by that guy Hong Kaiu, let's not be brave. The young man beside him saw that Prince Ming's waist stiffened again, so he was so frightened that he quickly reminded in a low voice. Now that I have finally recovered my life, I can't continue to let this lecherous young master die. However, his own young master was suffering enough. As soon as he got off the ship, he planned to enjoy the prosperity of Lower Lis City. The first hunting target kicked the hardest iron plate in Lis City, the eldest Miss Yuan family. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is really lucky that it didn't die. At this time, for the 10,086th time, the young man envied his young master's status as a nobleman's son. Even if the other party was only a concubine, the blood of a baron was flowing in his body after all. The most important thing is that the Wang family members are thin, and there is only one male direct descendant with a sickly physique in the entire family. I don't know which day he will die. Maybe Wang Ziming can go further. This is also the reason why Wang Ziming, as a concubine, has been assigned a Tier 3 guard, so he can still enjoy being pampered on weekdays. As for the lustful nature, for noble children, this should be an advantage. It's only the sons of nobles who are not lustful that give parents a headache. After all, the most important thing for aristocrats is the inheritance of children. As long as they are not masculine, it does not matter how many women there are. Anyway, the Wang family is just an ordinary baron family, and they don't expect a marriage between nobles. If they can marry a wealthy merchant woman and earn a fortune, Wang Ziming is very satisfied with his father. Apart from lust, Wang Ziming's predecessor had no other shortcomings. Of course, after seeing Yuan King Han, the current Wang Ziming is not much better than his predecessor's performance. If it wasn't for Yuan King Han who yelled at him before, maybe Wang Ziming would have the courage to approach him. There is no way. Who is Yuan King Han, who belongs to the kind of beauties at the level of harm to the country and the people that a man can't forget at a glance? After learning that he had a golden finger, Wang Ziming had automatically put Yuan King Han's threat behind him, and planned to leave this place to study the golden finger in his mind. However, just as Wang Ziming took a step, Hong Kai's majestic body came first and stopped in front of Wang Ziming, and a long knife swayed back and forth in front of Wang Ziming. Miss hasn't let you go yet. The corners of Wang Ziming's mouth twitched, and people had to bow their heads under the eaves. Yuan King Han saw Wang Ziming's cowardly look, the contempt in his eyes was even stronger, and there was a trace of cold killing intent deep in his eyes. For Yuan King Han, it is not the first time to order a murder. As her father is the mayor of Reese, as long as the murderer is not a nobleman, there will be basically no side effects. As for the law of the Purple Dragon Federation was originally a symbol of the privilege of the nobles. Master, calm down, it's all my fault for not reminding you in time. When the young man saw Wang Ziming's face, he was afraid that the other party would kill him again if he was angry, so he shyly smiled and comforted himself, and slapped himself very gently. Wang Ziming, who looked like he was afraid of pain, wanted to hit someone. Why did the previous owner of this body choose such a coward as a follower? Could it be because the other party is handsome? By the way, I didn't receive any memory of my predecessor, this is a big trouble. Wang Ziming glanced around the surrounding environment, and a modern and retro-style building group came into view. Most of the houses were made of wood, and the streets were narrow, only for pedestrians to pass through. Originally, Wang Ziming thought he had come to an ancient environment, but when he saw the revolver hanging on the waist of the middle-aged man beside the eldest lady, he immediately overturned his guess. This seemingly backward world has guns. But why is Hong Kaiu, who is the guard, holding a thick-backed machete in his hand, and a middle-aged man who looks no different from ordinary people, but has a revolver around his waist? When Wang Ziming was thinking about it, Yuan King Han and his group did not intend to communicate with Wang Ziming, and only the young man was comforting Wang Ziming in a way he thought was great. Not long after, a group of soldiers in black uniforms, carrying long guns, with a white cloth tied around their shins, wearing front-end dome caps, with bullet belts hanging from their chests and no batons hanging around their waists, was in the middle of a handsome man. Led by the wretched man, he hurried over. After the man leading the team saw the corpse on the street, he quickly stood up and waved to the younger brother behind him. "The black dog is here, young master, we are safe," the bright and white-toothed young man said excitedly when he saw the men in black uniforms from the brigade jogging over. On the other side, Yuan King Han drew a sneer at the corner of his mouth, while Dong Fukin on the side maintained a plain and watery look from beginning to end, as if this matter was as common to him as eating and drinking tea. After discovering the corpse, the team of black uniforms quickly pulled out their spears from behind, Wang Ziming took a closer look, the one in the front. The black uniform quickly formed a semicircle and pointed at the people present. After the scene was completely controlled, the first wretched leading man walked up with his chest raised and his head held high. However, when he saw Yuan Qinghan's face clearly, the temperament of an official man immediately made a 180-degree turn, his waist almost bent at a right angle, and the speed at which he changed his face made Wang Ziming amazed. "Miss Yuan, what can Hu Yuankai, the captain of the Lis City Guards, do for you?" After saying hello, Hu Yuankai turned to the younger brother surrounded by his men, his face suddenly changed, and he shouted sharply, "Hurry up and put down the gun, if I disturb Miss Yuan, I will kick you all back to your hometown to farm." Dozens of people in black uniforms immediately put away their spears, and they spread out like pace setters in the streets and alleys as guards standing upright. At first glance, they looked like they were well trained. Wang Ziming looked at the very familiar black-skinned dog, and glanced at Hong Kaiu, who was dressed in martial arts, feeling a sense of anachronism. But there is one thing that Wang Ziming can be sure of, this time he is afraid that he will have to get rid of his skin this time. Of course, Wang Ziming didn't do anything during this period, he took advantage of the gap and pulled out the auxiliary panel according to the prompts in his mind. Name, Wang Ziming. Occupation, Ordinary Person Commander, 1 Seoul Building, Town Hall. Civilian Population Cap, 100, excluding soldiers, Soldier Cap, 10 can recruit civilians, villagers. Soldiers that can be recruited, Crossbow Militia, Tier 1, Bow Hunter, Tier 1, Spear Militia, Tier 1, Tomahawk Militia, Tier 1, Wrangler, Tier 1, Population already owned, 0 villagers, 0 Tier 1 soldiers. Soul Power, 1 different space territory, 10,000 square meters, population growth and increase of. Ordinary buildings can expand the area of different space territory, Holy Altar, Tier 1 energy slot, 0%. Required for promotion to Town Hall, 100 Soul Power. Note, this interface has been integrated and optimized with the basic laws of the world. The following are the things that the host needs to pay attention to. 1. Soul Power building will affect the recruitment of various civilians and soldiers in different space territories. It is very important and requires soul power to build. In addition, the host can freely use conventional resources to build ordinary buildings in different space territories without consuming soul power. 2. The commander determines the upper limit of soldiers that the host can have. 1 point of commander corresponds to the upper limit of 10 soldiers. After the upper limit of soldiers is reached, the host cannot continue to recruit soldiers. 3. Soldiers can directly consume soul power to promote and recruit higher-level soldiers through military buildings of relevant levels, or they can be promoted by themselves by accumulating soul power by killing enemies in battle. The host can choose the soul power collection mode against the soldiers. The first option is to collect all the soul power into the core of the town hall. After the soldiers kill the enemy, they will not be able to gain any soul power. The second option is the soldier's self-promotion mode. The soul power of the enemy killed by the soldier will not be collected into the core of the town hall, but will be automatically absorbed by the soldier as the accumulation of self-promotion. The first option can collect soul power and distribute it according to the host's wishes. The second option allows soldiers to be free from being limited by the building level in the territory. As long as the soldiers gain enough soul power in battle, they can unlimited promotion in your own career system. Please note that once the soldier in the second option dies, no matter how much soul power the individual soldier has accumulated, they will all disappear. 4. The upper limit of civilian population depends on the level of core buildings such as town halls. Town halls are the lowest territorial core. The civilian population is ordinary people and has no occupation level, but it can also be used for armed training and combat. The civilian population and soldiers' population caps are calculated separately. 5. Soldiers that can be recruited are the regular occupation system that comes with the different space territory, which corresponds to the occupation level of the natives of the world. For details, Please click on each type of arms to explore. 6. Soul power is a universal energy unit formed by capturing the remaining souls of intelligent creatures that died shortly after, and is the basic energy source of different space territories. Neither soul power buildings nor manufactured intelligent creatures can leave soul power. The amount of soul power collected depends on the strength of the corpse's soul before it was alive, and the time of death, because the longer the corpse died, the more the soul dissipated, and the less soul power was collected until the remnant soul completely dissipated, unless it was a necromancer profession. Please note that souls of necromancer classes cannot be collected directly. Generally speaking, the soul strength of professionals on the physics side is not much higher than that of ordinary people. The soul strength of many professionals on the mysterious side is directly linked to the professional level, and more soul power can be collected after killing them, which is assessed by this world standard. The higher the spiritual attributes of some mysterious professionals, the more soul power they will get after killing them. Among them, the soul of ordinary people dissipates very quickly after being killed. It is only possible to collect a little soul power from the fresh corpse of ordinary people. On the other hand, even the death of a physics professional will greatly reduce the speed of soul dissipation. Because professionals have stronger willpower, they stay in the world longer. After some special mystery professionals are killed, their souls can even be directly transferred to necromantic occupations, but cannot be collected directly. 7. The sacred altar can collect other special types of energy except soul power, and convert it into energy that can be used to improve the host's own professional level. When the energy bar reaches 100%, the host can be instantly promoted to the corresponding level without any side effects. The lower the rank, the faster the energy accumulation, and the more types of special energy that can be used. 8. The alien space territory is the foundation of the host in the alien space. All construction and recruitment need to be completed in the alien space territory. Soldiers and civilians in the alien space territory can enter the world plane anytime and anywhere according to the host's will. Fight for the host and kill the enemy. Whether it is a civilian or a soldier, UU reading www.uugonshu.com is 100% loyal to the host, and will not betray forever. The price is that all civilians and soldiers cannot reproduce and are set as male members suitable for fighting and labor. The body is always maintained in the youthful period, and the lifespan depends on the survival time of the host. If you use your mind to choose the ranks of the different space territory, you can enter the different space territory for control and development. Please ensure the safety of the surrounding environment before entering the different space territory, because after the host's consciousness sinks into the different space territory, the body will automatically enter a state of sleep. Friendly reminder: there are unexplored areas around the territory of different space. Please do your activities within the territory as much as possible. Promotion to the town hall can greatly increase the territory of the territory. After leaving the territory, there is a certain probability of encountering unknown dangers or obtaining unknown treasures. 9. The town hall can recruit villagers and Tier 1 soldiers. It takes 100 soul power to be promoted to the town center. The town hall is the core building of the entire territory. After promotion, new soul power buildings and recruitment options can be opened. After reading the remarks, Wang Ziming pressed the curiosity of clicking the territory of the different space, and at this moment, Yuan Qinghan spoke up. Hu Yuankai, this man named Wang Ziming harassed me in the street, I hope I can get a fair trial. After hearing this, Hu Yuankai couldn't help but look at Wang Ziming, with an undisguised look of admiration in his eyes. Dare to molest the eldest Miss Yuan in the city of Lis, it is estimated that such a person cannot be found in the city of Lis. From the corner of Hu Yuankai's eyes, he glanced at the corpses on the street again, and he had already roughly guessed the whole incident in his heart. Miss Yuan, please rest assured, it is the duty of all members of the garrison to maintain the security and justice of the city of Lis. Come on, I handcuffed this disciple named Wang Ziming to Lao Tzu and put him in heavy torture. You can't do this, my young master is of noble blood." When the guard team member who was about to step forward heard the words noble blood, he paused and turned to look at his squad leader Hu Yuankai. After hearing this, Hu Yuankai frowned slightly. After realizing that Yuan Qinghan did not refute, he knew that the young man was telling the truth. Thinking about it, it's right. If it wasn't for the noble blood, with the temper of the eldest Yuan family, let alone molesting in the street, even if you stared at her a few more times, it would probably be gouged out. The reason why Hu Yuankai recognized the eldest Miss Yuan family at a glance was because the other party's reputation was roaring in the city of Lis. Of course, this reputation does not only include beauty. However, Yuan Qinghan's father is the mayor of Lis City, a serious federal earl, and Yuan Qinghan's second brother is the Lis City garrison commander. Although he is not the immediate boss of the Lis City garrison, there is one garrison commander and one garrison bureau. Illiterate people know who is more awesome. This kind of family may be nothing in the entire Federation, but it is absolutely heaven-like in Lis City. Of course, the federal law is basically invalid for Miss Yuan in Lis City. If it weren't for killing the noble bloodline, it would damage the reputation of the entire Yuan family in the upper-class circle of the Federation. It is estimated that Wang Ziming will not survive a meal after crossing over. Effort. But since it is a noble bloodline, even a noble bloodline that Hu Yuankai has never heard of can still enjoy due treatment. In the Purple Dragon Federation, nobility crimes will also be punished by the law, punished by more arrogant nobles. Anyway, Hu Yuankai doesn't think that there is anyone in Lis City that can make the Yuan family bow their heads. This is a colonial port city of Obolo far away from the federal mainland. There is an Atlantic Ocean in the middle. The Yuan family is a proper emperor in Lis City. Since it's a noble bloodline, it can't be tortured. As long as Mr. Wang Ziming cooperates, we will never embarrass you. Federal law will give you the most fair trial. After Hu Yuankai said these words, the irony on Hong Kai's face, who was holding a big sword with his arms around his chest, became more intense. In Lis City, as long as the Federation does not send high-level nobles over, the Yuan family will be the fair trial of Lis City. This is also a preferential treatment given by the Federation to the ancestors of the Yuan family who developed the colony of Lis City. The ancestors of the Yuan family in Lis City did not know how much blood they poured out. This is the reward their descendants deserve. Well, I am willing to accept a fair trial under federal law. When the young man beside Wang Ziming saw Wang Ziming follow his friendship reminder, he breathed a sigh of relief. In any case, his young master and his own life were saved. This young man was a servant of Wang Ziming's predecessor, his surname followed the Wang family, and his name was Wang Le. This kind of family-born child is very common in the major noble families of the Federation. It is usually fostered by adopted orphans from an early age, or children born from servants who have served them from generation to generation. It can be said that he is the slave of each family for generations, and his loyalty is very high. This is mainly because the life and death of the children of the family are often bound to the family they serve. Once the master suffers a disaster, they will also be implicated. When the master dies, they are often buried with them. This is also recognized within the scope of federal law. After all, the children of the family were raised by the master's family from a young age, so naturally they have to dedicate everything to them. As Wang Ziming's personal servant, once Wang Ziming dies, even if Yuan Qinghan is willing to let Wang Le go, he will be wanted for execution by federal law, or handed over to the Wang family to deal with it on their own. As long as the Wang family still needs face, they will definitely let Wang Le bury Wang Ziming with him, in order to uphold the family rules. Not to mention that there will be anger from the master here. After all, the life of a servant cannot be compared with that of his own blood. Seeing that Wang Ziming didn't show the arrogant face of a nobleman, Hu Yuankai nodded with satisfaction. He guessed in his heart that this Wang Ziming must have been taught by Yuan Qinghan, and he has already confessed. As for the corpse of Wang Ziming's bodyguard, a few members of the black uniformed security team randomly found a mat and wrapped it up, ready to be transported outside the city for cremation. According to federal law, the bodies of civilians in the European colonies must be cremated, which obviously violates the customs of federal burials. However, this is also the helpless action of the federal government. The continent of Europe is different from the mainland of the Federation. Due to the abundance of magic tides, a large number of strange beings have been born here. Once the corpse is buried in the suburbs, it is easy to be used by some strange beings, and even it's not impossible to crawl out of the ground again and become an undead creature. Because of this, there is a legal requirement that cremation is required. Of course, the nobles are not in the ranks of cremation, because the nobles generally enshrine professionals who are good at purification and other spells. They can let the corpse get permanent rest while being buried, and will not be reduced to some alien existence and food. At the same time, reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Nobles usually have family tombs, and these tombs will be equipped with some magical formations to prevent the invasion of aliens. In addition, nobles have the right to place their tombs within the safe protection area of the city. As long as the city does not fall, their tombs will not be destroyed. When Wang Ziming was escorted by several members of the armed guard team to the prison of the guard station, he saw Yuan Qinghan calling the guard team leader Hu Yuankai over, and the two sides had a whispered conversation before they separated. Wang Ziming knew that when he entered the prison this time, he would definitely jump into a fire pit. Fortunately, I have a golden finger that looks very good. Since the other party does not dare to kill me on the spot, I have a chance to grow out of the crisis. In the face of a life and death crisis, Wang Ziming's eyes became firmer than ever before. Don't worry, young master. Although our royal family has no power in Lis City, it is a barren family after all. The master gave us a lot of money before, so I will take care of it. Before Wang Le could finish speaking, a voice suddenly interrupted him. What's your name? Wang Le was slightly startled, and when he saw that it was Hu Yuankai, the captain of the garrison, he immediately bowed and replied, My name is Wang Le, he belongs to the Wang family. Well, you also have to come back to the police station with me, you are an accomplice. When Wang Le heard this, he froze. His young master just spent a few words, how could he become an accomplice? No, once he was caught, who would find a relationship with the young master to help him avoid prison? The Wang family is the only two of them in Lis City. Hu Yuankai obviously wouldn't be as polite to Wang Le as he was to Wang Ziming. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand, and two wolves-like guards immediately charged at Wang Le with batons and shackles. Wang Ziming looked at being pushed down and wailed, as if he had been beaten by that bright and white-toothed young man, and shook his head helplessly. Since Miss Yuan's family is waiting to come to the garrison, she has already made arrangements. Wang Ziming doesn't think that the beautiful girl who is unforgettable at a glance will let him go. Of course, it is impossible to let go of the servants around him to walk around. No matter what, he is also a child of the nobles. Even if Wang Le can't do anything, the publicity of this matter alone will have a certain negative impact on the Yuan family. Wang Ziming estimated that the Yuan family would definitely use all their strength to suppress this matter. As for my own fate, haha, I have golden fingers, let's just wait and see. Being so targeted at Wang Ziming naturally held a rage in his heart, but he knew that it was not the time to vent. He needed a relatively safe environment for a while, and had an in-depth understanding of how to use his golden finger. Only when you understand your own strength can you make a decision whether to go straight to hard steel or use your golden fingers to develop in a wretched manner. However, Wang Ziming's calmness was soon angered by the behavior of the guards. Why did you search for his Federation coins? Although Wang Ziming did not accept the memory of the original owner, he still had some common sense knowledge of this body. Wang Ziming recognized at a glance that the banknotes with busts of colorful figures on them were the universal symbol of wealth in this country. When Wang Ziming got up before, he found that apart from the clothes on his body, he didn't have any foreign objects, and the sundries and money were all on the body of the young man who followed him. This is quite in line with the status of a noble young master. As an aristocrat, how can you pay for yourself when you consume it? Then you lose your identity. Of course, Wang Ziming, the noble customs of this world, said he couldn't understand. I'm sorry, Mr. Wang Ziming, you are now the key suspect for molesting Miss Yuan. According to federal law, your personal belongings guards have the right to temporarily keep them, but you can rest assured that as long as your trial is over, we will take care of your personal belongings. Return it intact. Hu Yuankai said to Wang Ziming politely. Although Hu Yuankai knew that Wang Ziming, who offended Miss Yuan, would be cool, but based on the principle of prudence, Hu Yuankai was still reluctant to offend a noble blood with words. After all, Hu Yuankai didn't know how big the family power behind Wang Ziming was in mainland China. If he offended someone who shouldn't have offended, the other party's family power might not be able to do anything to the Yuan family, but he crushed himself, a small Lis city guard. It shouldn't be difficult to be a team leader. Even if Hu Yuankai is a professional himself, he still has no confidence in the nobles. As long as he does not reach the level of a 5th-tier expert professional, he is just a strong ant in the eyes of the federal nobles. Facing Wang Ziming's impending anger, Hu Yuankai added calmly, Mr. Wang Ziming, you have the right to make verbal attacks, but from now until the end of the trial, all your words will be used as evidence in court. Mr. Wang Ziming, you are of noble blood after all, please pay attention to your good noble culture, otherwise you should know how bad it is for you to insult public security officials. If it was a real noble here, Hu Yuankai would not dare to say that, but an aristocratic bloodline without a title does not have the right to casually abuse public officials who serve the Federation. Of course, Yuan King Han's family's direct descendants who exist like a giant in Lis city are not counted. Hu Yuankai's words were like pouring a pot of cold water on Wang Ziming's head, making him wake up instantly. Now that I am a prisoner, I can't completely offend these guards. Even if the other party didn't dare to beat him, just doing anything on the food would be enough for Wang Ziming to feel uncomfortable. Wang Ziming, who was struggling at the bottom of society before crossing the road, is very aware of the dark side of society. He doesn't want to try the integrity of the World Guard. Hu Yuankai looked at Wang Ziming, who had regained his composure, and stopped talking. Since the other party was so knowledgeable, Hu Yuankai naturally wouldn't be too embarrassed. His mission was just to put Wang Ziming in jail, and other things were naturally handled by the members of the Yuan family. If you offend the eldest Miss Yuan in the city of Lis, unless you are a great noble above the marquis in the Federation, don't want to leave the city of Lis alive. This is the front line of the Purple Dragon Federation's colonization of the Obolo continent, and there are ways to let people die in normal ways. On January 3, 1888, the lucky boy Wang Ziming, who had just crossed into this world, was imprisoned in the honor of a noble bloodline. When the guards of the guard team learned that a nobleman had come to their territory, they were all surprised and curious. Generally speaking, the federal law is a layer of paper for the nobles, which can be broken with a stab. Even if there is a conflict between the children of the nobles, they will be coordinated by their respective parents, or they may simply be imprisoned in their respective families. In prison. It is not uncommon for the noble children who were imprisoned in the prison of the garrison after the city of Lis was built, but they are definitely rare creatures. After all, ordinary aristocratic families would not do this even in the face of foreign noble children. It would be equivalent to completely incriminating the family behind the noble children. Only one of the top nobles in the area would dare to send a nobleman's son to prison so decisively. Because they don't care about revenge. Of course, this is only aimed at the nobles who are not as powerful as their own. Driven by the curiosity of the guards, soon the news that Wang Ziming offended the eldest Miss Yuan as a foreign noble bloodline spread. These little things are nothing to Wang Ziming. He is staying in the same cell with a handsome young man with bright teeth. Perhaps Wang Ziming's aristocratic bloodline has played a role again. This cell is not only with the cells of the other prisoners were far apart, and they had been cleaned and covered with a thick layer of straw. At least there is no feces and urine smell that is common in other cells. Young master, we are going to die this time. There is no one in the Wang family in the city of Lis. Maybe now the master does not know that you have fallen into the prison of the guards, and no one will take us out. The result of the trial may be extremely unfavorable for us. Wang Le said with a sad face. In this desperate situation, Wang Le seems to have nothing else to do except complain about himself. Now the two are truly penniless, and they don't even have the money to bribe the jailer to pass the letter. Seeing that there was no one around, Wang Ziming said to Wang Le with a serious face, I'm going to tell you something more serious now. Young master, apart from being executed, is there anything worse than the current situation? Wang Le wiped away the tears that did not exist, and looked at Wang Ziming with a confused expression. I'm talking about serious, not miserable. Serious. Seriously, do you understand? Wang Ziming, who didn't want to disturb the jailer, reprimanded Wang Le in a strong voice. Wang Le looked at the young master whose face was getting worse and worse, and nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. I understand what the young master said. The young master must be calm. As long as we live, we still have hope. Seeing that Wang Le was about to turn on the consolation mode again, Wang Ziming quickly interrupted, have I been beaten by that Yuan family lady before? No, you were beaten into a pig by Hong Kaiu. I mean, young master, you are not the opponent of those professional warriors after all, and it is inevitable to suffer some losses. Wang Liqiang smiled happily. Well, you're right, my body, including my head, was severely traumatized, so that I lost a lot of memory. Do you understand what I mean? Master, have you become an idiot? Wang Le asked worriedly. You're an idiot. I'm talking about memory loss. Can't you understand the vernacular? Taking a deep breath, Wang Ziming calmed down again. Wang Le seemed to be accustomed to this state of Wang Ziming, so he smirked, I know this, the young master looks very normal. What Wang Ziming didn't know was that for a family slave like Wang Le, even if Wang Ziming really became an idiot, he would still serve him with all his heart. Once Wang Ziming has 3 long and 2 short points, Wang Le will wait to be buried with him. Neither the federal law nor the old man of the Wang family will let him go, a domestic slave who is inferior to a freedman. Of course, Wang Le wouldn't say such words, but now Wang Le feels that Wang Ziming, who has lost his memory, is closer. Wang Li's cowardly character is inseparable from Wang Ziming's severe discipline. It is said that the good-sounding Wang Le is a personal servant, but in fact it is a punching bag that Wang Ziming used very easily, because only beating Wang Le will not bring any trouble to the original Wang Lemming. This is also the common situation in the aristocratic family of the Zilong Federation. They may be able to rely on the honor of the nobles to make a fortune, but in front of their masters, they are actually a dog who can't have any complaints. To improve their status, a slave can only rely on the master's appreciation or efforts to become a useful professional to the family. Even if you only become a Tier 1 professional, you can get rid of the status of being beaten and scolded, and you can even join the family's guard team and get a salary. However, there are no resources, and it is too difficult for a slave who even his own life belongs to his master to become a professional. I have to say that Wang Ziming is very satisfied with Wang Li's obedient attitude. No one in his previous life has been so obedient to him. Okay, now I need to know some information, please tell me carefully. First of all, where are we now? In the guard prison. Wang Le replied with a natural look. Wang Ziming took a deep breath and said again, don't answer the nonsense I already know. Young master, your amnesia is very serious. Damn, Yuan King Han actually treats young master like this, waiting to go out. Let's quickly find a boat to escape from the city of Lis, and never see anyone from the Yuan family. What a gutsy declaration. Wang Ziming looked at Wang Le with a cowardly face, and he completely understood why Yuan King Han would let him go. Punishing such a person might also bring shame to the noble blood. Under Wang Ziming's increasingly pressure eyes, Wang Le finally began to tell some useful news. Master, we are now in Lis City, the colonial city in the mainland of Europe. Lis City is the first colonial city stronghold established by the Purple Dragon Federation in the mainland of Europe. The scale is far larger than the second colonial city of Porto. There are only 2 colonial city strongholds in the mainland of Europe, both of which are port cities. Wang Le snapped his fingers and replied. How many armed forces are there in Reese? As soon as Wang Ziming's words came out, he almost scared Wang Le into peeing. This kind of question is too ambiguous. Who has nothing to spare to ask about the armed forces of a city? Wang Le was very doubtful whether his young master had been stimulated too much before and developed paranoia. No matter how you look at this kind of issue, it is only the Revolutionary Party that cares about it. However, although there is only one baron in the royal family, it is also an aristocratic class, and naturally stands on the opposite side of the Revolutionary Party. How many brainless people will help outsiders to overthrow their own privileged rule? Therefore, Wang Le didn't think Wang Ziming towards the Revolutionary Party at all, he just thought that Wang Ziming had a problem in his brain. If Wang Ziming knew what Wang Le was thinking now, he would rather be a Revolutionary Party. Hey? Is there anything wrong with my words? Wang Ziming looked at Wang Le, who was hesitant to speak, and wondered. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com Master, I have already asked the guards before. Yuan King Han, who we offended, his father is the mayor of Lis City, and the Yuan family is the local emperor of Lis City. It is not something our royal family can provoke, young master, you just... What a mess, I just asked about the armament situation in the city of Lis, and I didn't say that I want to rebel against the Yuan family. Wang Ziming said in disbelief. Wang Le carefully observed Wang Ziming and found that his young master was not insane, so he reluctantly told all the information he knew. Wang Le never thought of hiding anything from his master. After all, both parties are one. Without Wang Le, Wang Ziming is still the young master of the Wang family. Without Wang Lemming, Wang Le can only pray that his death will not be too painful. Lis City, as one of the 2 major colonial cities of the Purple Dragon Federation in the mainland of Europe, has a lot of garrison troops, but these are all military secrets. As an ordinary servant, I can't inquire about the specific situation. All I know is that the city of Lis has a larger number of garrison troops on top of the garrison, which is under the control of the garrison commander of the city of Lis. The garrison commander is Yuan King Han and her second brother. In addition, in order to ensure the in-depth expansion to the Ilaba Peninsula of the Obolo continent, Lis City has also deployed a Class A division all year round. The designation is the Obolo 1st Infantry Division. That's all I know. Very good, I'll ask you some questions next. Tell me everything you know. Soon, the Wanihu questioning was over. Wang Ziming, who had a preliminary understanding of the world he had passed through, told Wang Le that after resting, he lay on the soft grass bed, closed his eyes, and called out the auxiliary interface. Wang Ziming looked at the auxiliary interface in front of him. He didn't enter the different space territory for the first time, but clicked on the information of troops and civilians that he had no time to investigate before. First, Wang Ziming clicked on the villagers. Introduction to the villagers, the most basic civilian unit of an empire. Although they are just ordinary people, they are the indispensable foundation of an empire. The villagers are all young and strong men, and they can maintain this state forever. The lifespan depends on the survival time of the host. The price is that they cannot reproduce. Whether they die in the different space territory or the world plane where the host is located, they will disappear forever. Villagers are initially equipped with a hunting knife as a basic weapon. They can take out the corresponding farming tools and logging and mining tools from the town hall. One villager can only get one set, and the tools and weapons will disappear automatically after death. After the villagers are born, they have basic survival and development skills such as farming, construction, hunting, fishing, logging, and mining. They can ensure absolute safety within the territory. The host can operate the villagers to collect natural resources within the territory and build routines. Building, 1 soul power can be exchanged for 2 villagers. If the villager is summoned to the plane where the host is located, the villager can only keep a hunting knife as a basic weapon, but the host can train the villager on the host plane where he is located, and can use the items of the host plane without any restrictions. The villagers are equipped with weapons. In theory, the villagers can be trained as ordinary soldiers on the main plane of the host. Note that villagers cannot be promoted to professions in the normal way. Villagers cannot bring any objects, such as items and weapons from the host's main plane, into the alien space territory. What they can freely take away are only the original items on the alien plane and the new knowledge they have learned. Hey, this villager is similar to the villagers in the Age of Empires that I've played with. They can do almost everything except fighting. Wang Ziming looked at it and then pointed to the soldier sequence. Introduction to the first-tier crossbow-wielding militia, 1 point of soul power is exchanged for 1 person. After simple training, they mainly use crossbows as weapons to fight. The basic equipment is a crossbow. A number of missing crossbows can be supplemented in the related buildings in the different space territory, need to consume the wood and iron ore resources in the different space territory, short sword for body protection, simple leather armor, leather hat. They are just ordinary militia units. Although fighting is their job, don't expect them to have high combat effectiveness. The morale that is not afraid of death may be the only advantage over the natives of the main plane. The level 1 physics side professional of the plane is equivalent. Rank 1 bow hunter introduction, 1 point of soul power is exchanged for 1 person. After simple training, they mainly use hunting bows as weapons to fight. The basic equipment is a wooden bow, a number of wooden arrows, which can be supplemented in the related buildings in the other space territory, and consumes the wood and iron ore resources in the other space territory, short swords for body protection, simple leather armor, and leather hats. They are the best among hunters, and they can barely be used as armed personnel to set foot on the battlefield. Their morale, which is not afraid of death, may be the only advantage over the natives of the main plane. Equivalent. Introduction to the 1-tier spear militia, 1 point of soul power is exchanged for 1 person. After simple training, they mainly use wooden spears as weapons to fight. The basic equipment is a wooden spear, a short sword, a simple leather armor, and a leather hat. They are spear soldiers who have undergone simple formation training. They can barely fight in formation on the battlefield. Don't expect how strong they will be in combat. Their morale, which is not afraid of death, may be their only advantage over the natives of the main plane. The quality is equivalent to that of the first-order physics side professional of the main plane where the host is located. Introduction of Tier 1 Tomahawk Militia, 1 point of soul power is exchanged for 1 person. After simple training, they mainly use tomahawk as a weapon to fight. The basic equipment is a one-handed axe, 2 flying axes, simple leather armor, and a leather hat. Among the first-tier soldiers, their combat ability is more prominent, because they can not only use axe to kill, but also use flying axe to kill the enemy before contacting the enemy. The melee combat ability is relatively immature, and it will not fight in formation, so it can barely be used in melee combat. The physical quality is comparable to that of the first-order physics side professional of the main plane where the host is located. Introduction to Tier 1 Horse Herders, 1 point of soul power is exchanged for 1 person. They are just a group of nomads who can ride horses. Horse raising and horse racing are their specialties. They are not combat personnel at all, so they are not equipped with basic weapons. Of course, if the host has enough patience, they can be trained as a Tier 2 mounted militia, provided you let them learn to use weapons to fight. They are the pre-professionals of the cavalry route, and their physical fitness is comparable to that of the first-order physics side professionals on the main plane where the host is located. After reading the introduction, Wang Ziming retracted his thoughts and fell into deep thought. The introduction makes it clear that the most cost-effective battle-axe militia is undoubtedly the battle-axe militia. Of course, except for the special one-steer soldier, the wrangler, other one-steer soldiers have their own advantages. The crossbow-wielding militiamen and bow-wielding hunters may seem weak, but their long-range attack capability is enough to make them indispensable. The formation ability of the spear militia can also be useful if it forms a certain size. But this special Miao is a cold weapon type. Wang Ziming has learned through Wang Le that the Zilong Federation where he is located has completed the first industrial revolution and entered the steam era. The city of Lis, on the Iberian Peninsula, on the mainland of Romania. Naturally, steam trains are not available in the European continent, but they are already a common main means of transportation in the mainland of the Zilong Federation. As for firearms, even the police force similar to Wang Ziming's previous life has used front-loaded guns. Under such circumstances, did Wang Ziming recruit a group of system soldiers who used cold weapons to die? Wang Ziming said that he was not so brainless, he would rather recruit cheaper villagers, and then use the front-loaded guns produced by the Zilong Federation to fight. Of course, the current Wang Ziming is just thinking about it, not to mention the issue of the amount of soul power. Just how to get enough front-loaded guns can stump Wang Ziming. The war in the age of firearms and the age of cold weapons are completely two concepts. In the age of cold weapons, a knife or even a dung fork can be used on the battlefield, but the firearmed troops first need a complete industrial system supply to ensure that they will not fight on the battlefield. Out of ammo. As for the artillery, It wasn't until then that Wang Ziming realized that his golden fingers were not as good as he had imagined. Perhaps the subsequent advancements would be able to appear firearms, but in the early stage. Forget it, I'd better go into the different space territory to take a look. Maybe there will be different surprises in the different space territory. The host is about to enter the alien space territory, and the main body will enter sleep mode. Please confirm the surrounding environment is safe before entering. Do you want to enter the alien space territory immediately? Yes. Wang Ziming, who received the prompt, replied without hesitation. The host's physical body enters sleep mode, and after being subjected to external factors such as external attacks, strong touch, and high-intensity noise, it will automatically exit and wake up from the alien space territory. In sleep mode, the host's physical body can obtain the effect of normal sleep and rest. After this reminder, Wang Ziming's consciousness suddenly appeared high in the sky, and there was a building with a special sign below. Wang Ziming's consciousness swept slightly and knew that it was the town hall. There is an ancient Chinese-style altar next to the town hall. The altar is very simple and open air. It can become a relic in the environment of Wang Ziming's previous life. This kind of perspective from a high altitude is a bit like the pictures of Wang Ziming playing the Age of Empires and Total War maps in his previous life. His consciousness can also adjust the angle and zoom in at will to observe the units and terrain on the ground. In an easy-to-understand way, it's called the God's perspective. As for the body, well, Wang Ziming didn't find out that he had any body. Does this mean that he won't be killed in this other space territory? Yes, this is good news. From the high-altitude God's perspective, only the territory is a highlighted displayable area. The overall environment of the different space is very bright, and even the consciousness of a little grass prince in the territory can be seen clearly. This kind of feeling is very strange, and it also makes Wang Ziming very fascinated. As if he really is like God. There is a small forest around the town hall, a small pond, and there are still jumping fish in it. Not far from the small pond is an open pit mine, and there are dozens of rocky fields around it. Stones can be collected. This environment is more and more like the picture when I played the Age of Empires game. Wang Ziming's consciousness swept back and forth in his own alien space territory, involuntarily exclaimed in amazement. The terrain of the entire territory is only slightly undulating, and it can definitely be called a plain terrain, which is very suitable for agricultural development. Besides, except for ordinary forests, bushes, and grasslands, there is no desert terrain in the Gobi Desert, and farmland can be opened up even by slash-and-burn cultivation. The only thing missing is that the territory is too small, and the area beyond the territory is pitch black under the observation of Wang Ziming's consciousness, and Wang Ziming's consciousness cannot leave the territory to investigate. Vaguely, Wang Ziming felt that there was an invisible air barrier around the alien space territory, protecting his alien space territory, and the dark area of the outer circle gave Wang Ziming a sense of danger. Forget it, I'm just starting out now, so let's take care of the affairs in my territory. If you want to recruit civilians and soldiers to enter the main plane to assist yourself, you must manage this different space territory well. Wang Ziming's consciousness refocused on the town hall, the only intact building in the territory, and suddenly received a sequence of recruitment pictures that looked like a game screen. Tier 1 soldiers all have 1 soul power, while villagers have 1 soul power for 2 people. If you simply compare prices, Tier 1 soldiers seem not to be much stronger than villagers. Wang Ziming couldn't help thinking of the 4th Order swordsman Hong Kai he saw after he woke up. In addition to moving quickly, Hong Kai did not show much power over ordinary people from beginning to end, more like the Woolen Knight in Wang Ziming's impression. This is true even for Tier 4 professionals. Tier 1 professionals may not have much higher combat power than ordinary people. Moreover, according to Wang Li, there are not a few professionals in the Zilong Federation, but they are not as many as ordinary people. Professionals have long been the norm in society, mainly in the combat industry and the military. Professionals below rank 5 cannot obtain higher social status unless they make special contributions, which means that professionals below rank 5 are so insignificant compared to the army of ordinary people that the federal government does not bother to give them higher social status. Wang Ziming is very clear that if a person really gains power far beyond others, he cannot be willing to be mediocre and slowly climb the bottom of the society. Even if there are such people, there are only a few people, even if the power possessed by an individual cannot compete with the army, as long as it can pose a serious threat to society, it is impossible for the federal government not to buy them. Professionals over level 5 can automatically obtain the quasi-aristocratic status of lord, which is a kind of pacification and bribe of the federal government. In other words, only professionals who have reached rank 5 are truly worthy of the federal government's attention and win, and those below rank 5 are not much better than ordinary people. That being the case, Tier 1 soldiers consume twice as much soul power as ordinary villagers, which may mean that Tier 1 soldiers can only single out 2 ordinary villagers. Of course, this kind of judgment is very general, and basically does not calculate the bonus of external force. I only have 1 soul power now. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com comes from the remnant soul of my dead professional guard. It's a pity that the remnant soul of the deceased will dissipate over time. Excited. Wang Ziming couldn't help sighing when he remembered the explanation about soul power. Nowadays, the most important thing in different space territory is development, and the first-tier soldiers are just cold weapon soldiers. Except for a number of assistants who are not afraid of death, they have no use for birds, and they can't even help me escape from prison. Then, let me exchange for 2 villagers. With the thought of Wang Ziming, 1 point of soul power quickly transformed into 2 villagers and walked out of the town hall. Wang Ziming looked at the 2 villagers who were born out of thin air in the town hall, with a dull complexion, and quickly zoomed in closer. The 2 villagers wore the peasant sackcloth of the country where Wang Ziming lived in a previous life. They tied their hair in a bun on the top of their heads. A hunting knife with a cold glow was pinned to their waists, which looked very sharp. When the 2 villagers walked out of the town hall, they immediately went to the open-air sacred altar next to the town hall, and knelt down on their knees and bowed to the altar. Give us life, and we are willing to serve you with everything we have, including our lives. Your humble people implore the Patriarch to tell us what we need to do next, and to guide us in the direction of our progress. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the first batch of villagers. Please name them and direct them to work. If the host does not issue specific instructions, they can survive on their own. Without the host's order, your people will not leave the territory's safe area. Please note that in order to ensure the efficient development of the alien space territory, it is recommended that the host take the initiative to guide your people to build the territory. You even asked me to take a name. If you choose a name, you will be bald. Wang Ziming's consciousness felt a pain in his stomach when he heard the prompt, but looking at the two villagers in front of the sacred altar, who were prostrating and worshipping with pious faces, he felt that he should undertake the mission of the first ancestor. Well, let's call them villager number 1 and villager number 2. In the future, the villagers will be arranged in the lower order, and the other arms will also be arranged from the first to the back. If someone in the middle dies, let a new person take the place. This is very convenient, and I don't need to choose the name. Distressed. As soon as Wang Ziming thought that there might be thousands of people from different space territories in the future, he did not hesitate to name them in the simplest way of identity and number. Anyway, these people will never betray, a simple name is not a big problem at all. Of course, if there are outstanding performers who can be remembered by Wang Ziming doesn't mind spending more brain cells to give each other a real name. After Wang Ziming made his decision, with the thought, the two villagers below enthusiastically threw their bodies to the ground again and worshipped the sacred altar. Thanks to the ancestor for giving you the name of your humble people, we will remember the order of the ancestor. After worshipping, Wang Ziming's consciousness swept towards the two villagers again, but what he got were the signs of villager number 1 and villager number 2, which was very convenient. In this way, Wang Ziming even saved the brain cells of memory. This golden finger is quite human, hee. Wang Ziming's consciousness silently laughed a few times, and began to open the interface of conventional buildings. Then I was dizzy by the dense list of buildings. Oh no, it's consciousness. All the basic conventional buildings that Wang Ziming has seen in the game that he has never seen in the game, the basic conventional buildings that have existed in history can basically be found in his memory, and the only thing in common is that they all stay in the era of cold weapons. Fortunately, Wang Ziming's consciousness found a systematically planned territory construction proposal in the building list. This discovery allows Wang Ziming to go blindly in the direction of the territory construction planner without racking his brains. There is no way, Wang Ziming was an ordinary clerk in his previous life, and it would be too reluctant for him to plan and build the territory. After all, this is not a game, and there is no chance to delete the file and start over. In the game, Wang Ziming can rely on his own preferences. If he acts recklessly here, I am afraid that this golden finger he owns will be greatly wasted. Although conventional buildings cannot increase the population, they can provide the resources needed by the villagers and create some cold weapons. After all, the weapons of the main plane cannot be brought into the other space territory. If you want to explore the shadow area outside, you must rely on the other space territory to produce the necessary weapons. Moreover, the weapons and arrows of soldiers also need to be replenished in the different space territory. Even melee weapons such as spears and battle axes need to be replaced or repaired after a long time. All of this requires building the alien space territory into a self-sufficient logistic space. Who is Wang Ziming's tragic encounter in the main plane, let alone fetching supplies, it is still unknown whether he can save his life. At this time, through the gossip that Wang Li inquired about from the jailer, Wang Ziming had already learned how ruthless the eldest Miss Yuan was. There is not much to say about the news that Jerry Yui must report. In the city of Lis alone, 13 murders were related to Miss Yuan's family. Given the status of the Yuan King Han family in the city of Lis, naturally there will be no unscrupulous guys who will take the initiative to kill themselves. It is conceivable how humble the victims of these 13 murders died. And Yuan King Han's character can become like this, obviously due to his favorable living environment and the strong power of Yuan's family. When a person finds that one sentence can decide the life and death of others without taking any responsibility, plus Yuan the family's indulgence towards Yuan King Han, it is not surprising to raise such a cold-blooded eldest lady. In fact, in the Purple Dragon Federation, most of the children of the middle and high aristocratic families are very cold-blooded towards ordinary civilians. They are born noble and can become professionals with the help of the family's resources without much effort. Treat ants in general. The Federation in the Purple Dragon Federation refers to the aristocratic federal system, and the commoners do not have any political rights. The right to vote and vote are in the hands of nobles and professionals above the 5th rank, and the majority of the population is just a screw in the Federation. This is the reason why the nobles are in a mess in the Purple Dragon Federation, and of course it is also the root cause of the revolutionary parties and various extremist sects in the Purple Dragon Federation that cannot be completely eliminated. It's a pity that high-level professionals in the Purple Dragon Federation will be wooed and automatically become a member of the nobles, that is, those with vested interests. The nobles also control the government and the army. The low-level civilians and even low-level professionals are simply powerless to fight against the Purple Dragon Federation. Power. This is a society that is extremely unfair to ordinary people. The basic buildings in the early stage mainly required wood resources, so let the villagers go to cut the wood first, but the villagers still need food rations. Fortunately, the fish in the nearby pond is more than enough to feed 2 people. The town hall is enough to bear the rest of the life of 2 villagers. We don't need to build houses for the time being. Let's first accumulate wood and a little stone to build a mill and open up farmland. With my current situation, it's not enough for them to enter the main plain to solve the food problem. Soon, Wang Ziming thought about the instructions for the 2 villagers and conveyed it directly to their minds. This is the absolute control he has over his people. If Wang Ziming is willing, he can even annihilate the souls of their people in an instant. After all, these 2 villagers were created by him. In the different space territory, Wang Ziming is almost a in the true sense, at least in the eyes of his people. After receiving the task of logging, villager number 1 immediately ran into the town hall, took out the logging tools, and walked to a nearby tree with great interest to start the work of hey yo he yo. Villager number 2, who received fishing and cooking tasks, took out a fishing net and a harpoon from the town hall, and went down to the small pond, with a lot of harvest. It's a pity that the number of fish in the small pond is limited. In the future, if there are too many people, the fish resources in the pond will soon be exhausted. There were only 2 villagers, so villager number 2 only caught a net of fish. After he forked it with a fork, he took out flint and burning objects from the town hall. A small fire was quickly set up, and it didn't take long for roasts to float out of it. The fleshy aroma of fish. Villager number 2 called villager number 1 to have a full meal for the 2 of them after the roast was finished. When there was no shortage of food for the time being, the 2 of them went to cut wood together. From the perspective of God, Wang Ziming watched the work of the 2 villagers in the territory with great satisfaction. Your body has already slept enough, are you leaving the alien space territory to wake up on the main plane? Wang Ziming, who was busy instructing 2 villagers to build the territory in the different space territory, suddenly received this prompt, and several hours had passed before he knew it. The time flow rate of the different space territory and the main plane is the same. If Wang Ziming is willing, he can continue to stay in the different space territory, and the body of the main plane will continue to sleep. However, after a long time, the body of the main plane will starve because of not eating for a long time, which will lead to the failure of body organs, and it will not take long for Wang Ziming's body to die. At that time, even if Wang Ziming's soul is not annihilated, he can only take the necromancer career route. In the Purple Dragon Federation, both the private sector, the government, and the church have spared no effort to attack the necromancer line professionals. Once Wang Ziming becomes an undead spirit, it is basically impossible to mix in the control area of the Purple Dragon Federation. Therefore, Wang Ziming attached great importance to the physical body of his main plane. After receiving the prompt, he ordered the 2 villagers to build conventional buildings according to the original plan and give priority to the collection of wood resources, and then his consciousness left the other space territory. The different space territory is an independent space, and naturally it will not be suspended because of Wang Ziming's departure. After Wang Ziming woke up, he found that his energy was not lacking because he was busy all night in the different space territory, and it was no different from waking up after sleeping in normal times. What a magical alien space territory! Does it mean that I will have a lot of extra time in my life in the future? Wang Ziming glanced at Wang Le, who was lying next to him with a large font. He came to the prison bars and tried to look out. After finding that the jailer was not the same group as yesterday, he reconfirmed his inner answer. The guards in Reese are on a shift replacement system, only changing the guard overnight. After about half an hour, the two guards came to the door of the prison, pointed at Wang Ziming and laughed a few words, then put the wooden basin containing the black bread into the cell, and took away the wooden basin that contained the food yesterday. In this world where most people are still struggling below the food and clothing line, the food treatment of prisoners can be imagined. Basically, they are low-quality brown bread with a lot of sand and unknown objects in it. Of course, the low-quality brown bread for the prisoners was baked on the fire, otherwise it would not be able to bite at all. Although Wang Ziming is of aristocratic bloodline, the preferential treatment he received was just that the brown bread went from inferior to ordinary. The taste made Wang Ziming, who was accustomed to the diet of his previous life, frown. In his previous life, Wang Ziming also ate European-style and Chinese-style brown bread, which is completely different from the lump in front of him. This is not only the problem of backward baking technology, but also the extreme compression of costs and raw materials due to the lack of materials. It can be said that the food eaten by ordinary people in this era does not care about health and hygiene at all, as long as it can fill their stomachs, it is very good. Although the social wealth in the steam era has increased significantly, due to the institutional problems of the Zilong Federation, most of the increased social wealth has been seized by a few noble classes and capitalists, and the living resources of ordinary people have increased pitifully. Of course, the federal government in Zilong will not deliberately suppress population growth and make people hungry. Some related labor protection laws have also been introduced, such as minimum wage guarantees, and the maximum working hours per day cannot exceed 16 hours, etc. As for holidays and weekends, basically don't think about it, even if it's the official holiday of the Purple Dragon Federation National Day, most workers can't go home to rest. The minimum wage guarantee is to prevent large-scale starvation among the working population. The federal government is not afraid of revolutionary rebellion, but is worried that the death of a large number of ordinary people will bring productivity to a standstill. These are the general information of the Zilong Federation that Wang Ziming learned from Wang Le. Of course, as aristocratic bloodlines, Wang Ziming and Wang Le have basically never experienced the hardships of ordinary people. Wang Le, as a family slave, does not have to worry about the problem of not being able to eat enough, even the stingy nobles will not let their own the slave is hungry. After all, domestic slaves are also a kind of property to nobles. Amid the protests from his stomach, he finally ate the nachuo black bread with sour water, and there was a sudden commotion outside the cell. Surrounded by several jailers and several soldiers in military uniforms, a man wearing a broad-brimmed officer hat came to Wang Ziming's cell. This man, who was obviously an officer, kept holding a clean handkerchief in front of his nose along the way, and his brows never loosened. "Bring Wang Ziming out." Without the jailer's action, Wang Ziming walked out on his own, while Wang Li's habitual habit followed behind. "Hello, Mr. Wang Ziming, I'm Lu Tianhe, Director of the Lies City Recruitment Department. You violated the noble dignity of the Yuan family because of your verbal teasing to Yuan King Han, the young lady of the Yuan family, on the street, but considering your aristocratic bloodline status, you reading www. The crimes committed by yuyuganshu.com are not enough to warrant the death penalty. You need to serve in the field reconnaissance team of the Reese City Defense Force for 1 year to make up for your crime. After 1 year, it will be determined whether you can be exempted from this crime according to your performance in the field reconnaissance team. If your performance is not good, will continue to be postponed. Your personal belongings will be returned after being cleared of the charge. Of course, after entering the field reconnaissance team, you are a real federal soldier, and all the military laws need to be implemented, but you will not receive basic military pay during the redemption period. At the same time, because you have no noble title, you will not enjoy any privileges in the army, including being executed after violating relevant military laws. Oh, by the way, your personal servant Wang Le will also serve with you. You'd better restrain your personal servant. As your servant, you will be punished even if he violates the military law. Congratulations, Mr. Wang Ziming, you are now a full-fledged federal soldier, and I, the head of the enlistment department, came over to announce the enlistment clauses to you in person. Lu Tianhe smiled meaningfully at Wang Ziming. Immediately afterwards, Lu Tian and the soldier behind him in the uniform of the City Defense Army suddenly rushed up and pushed Wang Ziming to the ground, tying his hands behind his back. Wang Le also received the same treatment very quickly. I'm very sorry, Mr. Wang Ziming. In order to prevent you from getting into unnecessary trouble during the enlistment process, I need to temporarily wrong you. Of course, when you are in the team, you will regain your freedom and fight for the glory of the Federation. Lu Tianhe explained neither lightly nor heavy. Then, under the respectful welcome of the jailer, who nodded and bowed, he escorted Wang Ziming and Wang Le out of the cell. The City Defense Field Reconnaissance Team, what kind of team is this? Why did Yuan Qinghan take the trouble to transfer himself there? This time, the treatment of Wang Ziming and Wang Le has been upgraded to a higher level. After leaving the prison of the police force, they have a horse-drawn carriage, which is still a tall four-wheeled horse-drawn carriage. It's just that this four-wheeled carriage looks like it's transporting livestock. From the beginning to the end, Wang Ziming and Wang Le's hands were not loose. It is estimated that Wang Ziming and Wang Le were both ordinary people, so they were only tied with ordinary hemp ropes, not the legendary iron chains. Several soldiers in uniform of the City Defense Army escorted a four-wheeled carriage to the outside of the city of Lis. Since the four-wheeled carriage was closed, outsiders could not see Wang Ziming and Wang Le. Wang Le, do you know what the field reconnaissance team is? You are not saying that being a soldier in the Federation is a very honorable position. Not only can you get military pay that is much higher than the wages of workers, you can also often get some material subsidies, and once you become a soldier in the Federation, not even the nobles can deal with them at will. Why is our punishment for joining the army? Wang Ziming had previously learned from Wang Lekao that the Zilong Federation's treatment of the army is still very good, perhaps because of the need for external battlefield expansion. In the Purple Dragon Federation, which has a very strict social hierarchy, the promotion system of the army and the social status of the soldiers are both pretty good. Joining the army on the battlefield is also one of the few ways for ordinary people to become nobles. Compared with being promoted to a rank 5 professional, it is obviously easier to become a nobleman after being a soldier. In addition to the basic pension, the relatives and families of soldiers who died in the Federal War can also receive tax reductions for a certain period of time. If you serve in the army long enough and then retire, you can also get certain social benefits. It is the relatively fair and preferential military system of the Purple Dragon Federation that ensures that the army of the Purple Dragon Federation is generally high in combat effectiveness, and there is not much room for the Revolutionary Party to play. As for the bad incidents of empty pay and abuse of big-head soldiers, it is basically impossible to see in the Federal Field Army, even in the City Defense Army in the border provinces. It is also reduced to an empty shell, and all kinds of military bad habits can only be seen in the urban defense army of the inland city with a comfortable environment. And the garrison does not belong to the army of the Purple Dragon Federation, it is just a security force. The members of the garrison are composed of ordinary people, and even if the first-tier Federal Regular Army Tierra troops are the most basic big-head soldiers, they are also Tier-1 militia professionals. Ordinary people can only stay in the regular army's Tier B troops and the City Defense Army. Some elite Class A divisions even have a large number of Tier 2 and 3 professionals serving as soldiers. Of course, the treatment of officers and soldiers of different ranks of the army is also very different. The Federation has long recruited low-level professionals to join the army. On the one hand, it can strengthen the combat effectiveness of the Federation Army, and on the other hand, it can reduce social instability. After all, professionals themselves are stronger than ordinary people. Even a Tier 1 militiaman can easily knock down 2 ordinary adult men who are also empty-handed without any professional combat training. These low-level professionals themselves are better than ordinary people. Naturally, they are not willing to work all day and struggle with food and clothing like ordinary people. Of course, they have become unstable factors for the government. However, professionals who have reached the 3rd rank can generally find a job as a noble guard with a good salary. Coupled with the strict control of the federal government, there are not many wild professionals above the 3rd rank. Master, I came to Lis City with you, and I don't know oh. Wang Li replied with an aggrieved expression. Just like that, Wang Ziming, who was bumping in the enclosed 4-wheeled carriage, couldn't see the outside scenery, and he didn't know how far he walked before he was released with Wang Li. When they saw the sun again, Wang Ziming and the two had already arrived at a simple temporary camp. There were only a few dozen people in the camp who were wearing old city defense uniforms, or sitting casually or shyly. Even a layman like Wang Ziming could see that those young and reserved faces were recruits who had just arrived at the military camp. What surprised Wang Ziming was that the number of recruits in these dozens of temporary military camps exceeded 2/3. And they all look like they have not received any military training. Hey, there's new blood coming. This time, so much new blood has been added. It seems that the order from above is very strong this time. An old fritter-like soldier with a crooked military cap on his head, holding a muzzle gun of the same style as the garrison in his arms, and smoking cheap cigarettes one after another. The tobacco industry is the cash cow of the Zilong Federation, and the army is also a big consumer of cigarettes. This is not to say that soldiers prefer to smoke, but that soldiers can afford cigarettes more than workers. Even the cheapest cigarettes are not affordable for ordinary workers. In fact, although the salaries of the big-head soldiers are high, most of them are returned to the capitalists by various consumer goods, and then the government gets most of it back through taxes. In the Purple Dragon Federation, the military is an important part of promoting economic circulation within the Federation. Cheap industrial products are consumed by a large number of ordinary soldiers, and refined industrial products are consumed by military officers with a net worth equivalent to the middle class. The Purple Dragon Federation has always had a bottomless demand for the magic stone resources of the continent of Europe. UU reading www.uuganshu.com wants to advance to the professional level without talent and long-term practice. Magic stones are the most basic consumables. Those powerful children are not all geniuses, and if they want to advance, they must consume countless magic stone resources. This is the reason why the Purple Dragon Federation has to colonize and expand the continent of Europe across the ocean at all costs. After all, the continent of Europe is filled with a large number of demonized species, and it will not be at a disadvantage against the Federal Army. The most important thing is that most of the demonized species are creatures with burned-out brains, and they are not afraid of death in battle. This is also the fact that the Purple Dragon Federation has colonized and expanded on the continent of Europe for more than 100 years, and only established 2 colonial cities on the continent of Europe, and established alliance trade relations with the elves on the British island. After the handover, Wang Ziming and Wang Li's hands finally regained their freedom. The soldiers in this temporary military camp are the same as the citizens of the city of Lis. They are all Asian yellow races. The Asian yellow race is the main ethnic group of the Purple Dragon Federation, not the Aborigines of the New World. The reason why the Purple Dragon Federation calls its continent the New Continent is because the ancestors of the Purple Dragon Federation came from another continent that has sunk. According to folklore, the Asian yellow race of the Purple Dragon Federation came from a continent called Asia, which is why they call themselves Asian. and that continental plate sank in the confrontation between the Asian guardian dragon and unknown evil forces. It was under the protection of the guardian dragon that the Asian ancestors escaped and came to the New World, and it took about 1,000 years to unify the northern part of the New World. It took hundreds of years to defeat the Charles Empire, which was dominated by white immigrants in the southern New World. The calendar of the Zilong Federation is calculated from the time when the Zilong Federation immigrated to the New World to found the country, and 1888 just passed when Wang Ziming crossed over.